Hello. Barriers, boundaries, and bridges. So barriers and boundaries. First of all, I'm going to say two opposite things, two totally different things. One is good and one is not good. Barriers, what are they? Barriers are obstacles that prevent, that shut off, that completely block the way between you and something else. Completely shut off. It prevents any movement. It prevents any access, doesn't it? So barriers block, completely prevent movement or access to or from. And I believe that often we think or we feel like they protect, right? Barriers, we put them up, we put these walls up as a form of protection for ourselves. But what do barriers really do? Barriers create an impasse. It's impossible to pass, to break through, to make movement toward, to move forward. Barriers create an impasse. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. So nothing gets in. What's stuck in then? If nothing can get in and nothing can get out, what is stuck in here with me from putting this barrier up? So nothing can get out of here. It's stuck in. We're stuck inside. We're stuck with resentment, with fear, with bitterness, with unforgiveness, with misunderstanding. And I know that sometimes we need to protect ourselves. Barriers will also keep blocked in things like resentment and bitterness. And these things, when we hold resentment, bitterness, fear on the inside, it results in and then creates, because nothing can get out, it creates inside of us anxiety, depression, fear, anger, physical illness is what is created when things are stuck in here. What's locked out? What is it that we're keeping from getting in? We're keeping out communication. We're keeping out any kind of growth, any kind of healing. We're keeping out knowledge and learning. Now, if you are in a dangerous situation, if you are living with abuse, I know that this is like, yeah, that sounds nice, but that can't happen. And I am going to put that in here also, because sometimes we do need to create a barrier that will protect us and might even protect our life. But what about boundaries? And I wrote things down for boundaries because I'm going to look at this. So boundaries, what's a boundary? So now we understand barriers. Boundaries are lines or limits where one thing ends and another begins. So that line the line in the sand, one thing ends and another begins. What might end at a boundary? Respect might end if that boundary is crossed. I'm going to go through this. Hopefully I remember the thought that's in my head right now. Boundaries are rules. They're limits that are set to define what's healthy and acceptable in our relationship. So the boundary is what's healthy and acceptable in a relationship. And I already said, like, disrespect, it's that line between respect and disrespect, possibly between safety and danger. And on the other side, I keep talking as if I'm drawing the boundaries. From the other side, I might not understand why in the world you set this boundary, but if I have respect for you, I'm going to listen to I'm going to follow this boundary that you have set. So then maybe I can learn and eventually understand why the boundary was set. So then growth can take place, right? So a lot of times we set boundaries. What was I going to say? See, so healthy and acceptable relationships, respect and disrespect. So, often we set the boundary and somebody just barrels right through it. So that is disrespect. And it may be a boundary that looks like, what does a boundary look like? It might look like my saying, okay, this is a boundary. If we're getting in a disagreement, there can be no yelling, no screaming, no raising voices. That is a boundary. And then if the boundary is broken, of course, the trust is broken, and we're back to the beginning, and nothing can take place. Nothing healthy, nothing positive, no growth can take place. So that's what a boundary might look like. People also set boundaries, to protect yourself. And I've kind of touched on that with barriers, and again with, the respect and a boundary. It might protect you physically, psychologically, mentally. It's a safeguard for your person, a safeguard for your time, perhaps, and maybe even a safeguard of your possessions. If it's somebody that just, takes whatever they want, gets in your purse, takes your money without asking, without talking. If it's someone that just walks in and borrows, takes your clothes and doesn't. These are simple things, but it's what's coming off the top of my head. So these are ways that boundaries might safeguard you, because no, you can't come in and take my things, my possessions, without asking me, because I'm probably going to tell you, okay, but I might not, because you never return them. So that might be why the boundary's set. What else? Boundaries can look like, it helps you, the person setting the boundary, to feel and act safe. Setting a boundary may help us to feel safe in the conversation, safe in the place. And it creates this safe place where then conversation or communication can flow. If we feel like we're in a safe place, it helps you. Okay, in this one, setting these boundaries, it helps you to not get stuck. It also helps trauma responses not to kick in. If we set a healthy boundary and it's followed, it helps us not to get stuck in this fight, flight, freeze, or fawn in our trauma responses. And nothing can take place once we're stuck in a trauma response. So what happens when we work? It always takes work. What happens when we work through healthy boundaries? Once we work through healthy boundaries and take the time on both sides to gain knowledge and understanding and communication, a bridge can occur. And it takes time and effort to build a bridge, doesn't it? So once healthy boundaries are set in place and worked through, then we can reach a bridge of communication between the two of us. And bridges are built over time and over consistent action. So time and consistent actions, because if I don't trust you and I've set this boundary because there's no trust there might be fear there, then it takes consistent action over time in order to build the bridge from the person that the boundary has been set for. Once we build these bridges, then, it leads to a more intimate, it leads to a safe and trusting relationship. The things that get broken, and if barriers are set, things that cannot be rebuilt, things that cannot be crossed over. So important, safety and trust. Growth, understanding, learning, and acceptance are what the bridge is built with. And our trauma responses start to relax, and we don't knee-jerk into fight or fawn or freezing, where nothing healthy, nothing good can take place. So barriers, set those walls, they're impassable. Boundaries, set a way for healthy communication and growth and healing to take place in order to build that bridge. Hope somebody got something good out of this today. Amen, sister.